So the question now is, will Turkey seize Incirlik Air Base, and will there be a military confrontation between NATO member Turkey and NATO member the United States? And if you think about it, you now have Turkey demanding that the U.S. turn over what they're calling criminals to the Turkish government, and this comes weeks after Vladimir Putin demanded that the U.S. turn over to Russia millionaire Bill Browder, yes, who he said illegally evaded taxes in Russia and also secretly transferred money to Hillary Clinton's campaign with the help of the U.S. ambassador, was it Mr. McFaul?
For instance, we can bring up Mr. Browder in this particular case. Business associates of Mr. Browder have earned over $1.5 billion in Russia. They never paid any taxes, neither in Russia nor in the United States. And yet the money escaped the country. They were transferred to the United States. They sent huge amount of money, 400 million, as a contribution to the campaign of Hillary Clinton. Well, that's their personal case. It might have been legal, the contribution itself, but the way the money was earned was illegal. So we have a solid reason to believe that...
And of course the deep state, the media here in the United States said how outrageous that Vladimir Putin would demand that President Trump turn over Mr. McFaul. And actually President Trump said, well, you know, it's an interesting proposal and we're thinking about it. That's when they went berserk. That's why I'd like to see if that's July 25th, when the meteor hit the airbase, okay? Because President Trump was thinking about forcing Mr. Ambassador McFaul to answer questions. Remember, President Putin said, let us bring, you guys can come over here and question us, but we get to come over to your country and question Bill Browder.
Yes. And nothing unified Democrats and Republicans like that.
No, you're right. Okay, so here's where I'm going with this. I've been saying for years that the American political establishment, this thing we call the deep state, whatever you want to call this thing, the shadow government, it is so corrupt and so evil. I've said this for years, that someday there will be military tribunals just like Nuremberg after World War II. And you're going to see American military leaders, American corporation executives, and American bankers on trial, and American politicians on trial in other countries for criminal activity, global criminal activity. I honestly believe that's where it's going.
I think it's very valid. I go back to that the allegations from the Turks. You look at General Vodal and General Campbell. They were in charge of our program to arm and train the Free Syrian Army, which we now know, we've reported this hundreds of times, that this group is heavily associated with jihadists. You look from an economic standpoint, who invented derivatives? No other than the central bankers. But America is at the heart of that Ponzi scheme. We have exported such frauds. I mean, let's go to a moral issue. Who is the perpetuator of pornography in the world? Us, here in America, Hollywood. You look at the things...
Mortgages, interest rates, the price of commodities like gold, silver, coffee, oil, or the possibility of a company or even a nation to default. Basically, right now, there is nothing of economic worth that does not have some sort of derivative attached to it. All derivatives are bets. This is not a metaphor, an analogy, or a generalization. The players on the derivative market gamble trillions on the future price of the asset to which the derivative is attached. These are the speculative contracts that will eventually pop the current gigantic bubble.
Read with him that he has a disease, a sexual compulsivity that some call sex addiction, as the judge put it.
Some say she's better than Meryl Streep. Who says that?
I don't know. Nobody. A lot of people.
Congratulations, you 5 ladies no longer have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein.
You wanted a job for Benson, now you're Do you know who I am? You're gonna beg to get back into the pizza business.
He's trying to do his...
You are the kid that You don't want to mess with Weird Al.
Oh, please. I'm not afraid of anyone in show business. I turned down intercourse with Harvey Weinstein on no less than 3 occasions out of 5.
I can tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
The casting couch even applies to children.
Oh, yeah.
You look at the things we've done. I think the scenario you laid out there is absolutely possible in a just world. But then I wonder what the deep state is willing to do to stop themselves from being put in shackles. And maybe that's why we're seeing the conflict that's currently forming in front of our eyes.
It is. They're fighting for their lives. And somebody released evidence of their criminality in the 2016 campaign. They were exposed. They were
by the whistleblowing website WikiLeaks, and the stuff it has been releasing since last Friday, the so-called Podesta emails, have been hitting hard on Hillary Clinton's campaign.
Should be an infant male and receive body parts as Christmas gifts. This appears to be normal, the normal flow of things at this time of year. Thanks. John and Mary, I just received the holiday package of pasta and sauce. Now bear in mind, these are all pedophile code words. Pasta and sauce. Let's take a look at it. Cheese is code for a little girl. Well, that happened in 2015. The email was titled Cheese, referencing a little girl. And by the way, I don't believe it is a coincidence that these strange, cryptic emails that are sent on an occult holiday are loaded with pedophile references. And
well, what about your connection to the Kremlin cache, Mr. Podesta? Joining us right now from Tallahassee is Peter Schweizer. He's the author of Clinton Cash, president of the Government Accountability Institute. Peter, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve.
their crimes, their immorality was exposed to the whole world. Anybody who read those emails knew how crooked that they were. And so they're furious about it because they're wondering what's coming next. And we speculated that perhaps Vladimir Putin handed President Trump the evidence of what the Russians know about prominent Americans.
The country, they were transferred to the United States. They sent huge amount of money, 400 million, as a contribution to the campaign of Hillary Clinton. Well, that's their personal case. It might have been legal, the contribution itself, but the way the money was earned was illegal. So we have a solid reason to believe that some intelligence officers accompanied and guided these transactions. So we have an interest of questioning them. But we can that could be a first step, and we can also extend it. Options abound, and they all can be found in an appropriate legal framework.
And did you direct any of your...
And is that the reason that they were terrified that week he came back from NATO, from Europe, after that meeting with President Putin? They're terrified that Vladimir Putin gave him something that he could use to prosecute the deep state shadow government in the United States of America.